Hello and welcome back. In this episode, we will continue to write the Groovy script that we were creating in our last episode. We had a resource resolver factory and we were getting a resource resolver and we were reading the path. So first things first, let's just go ahead and resolve this get administrative resource resolver deprecation problem. So what I'm going to do is instead of using get administrative resource resolver, I'm going to use get service resource resolver. So this method accepts map, and usually we pass the username and password or authentication information to that map for this resource resolver to be resolved. But in our case, I don't want to do that. I just want to give a default user whose authentication information can be used by the resolver factory to give us the resource resolver. Okay, so let's head back to the Sling page and let's go to users and groups. So these are the existing system users. For our case, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new one. Let us call it TDT Groovy. Okay. I'm going to refresh the browser just to make sure that user exists. And after that, we would have to go to the configuration manager and let's look for user mapper service and give the new username as the default user. So what it's going to do is when I say gets service resource resolver, it's going to go look at that configuration, get that username, and get its permissions to give us the resource resolver. So now that we have the service resource resolver, let's just go copy this and head back to the console, paste and execute. Okay, it still works. Now let's head back to IntelliJ and let's just create some nodes. I'm gonna get rid of that and we head back to Chrome and let's go to browser. Let's go here. Let's just create a dummy folder under which we want to create our data. So let's just make it ordered folder and let us call it TDT. Okay, and under that I want to create one more folder and let's call it site. Sorry, this is the Sling ordered folder and let's call it site. Okay, let's go back to IntelliJ and use that as our destination path. So let's define a new variable, call it destination path, and that should be content TDT site. And then I'm going to get that resource, destination resource, and resource resolver dot get resource destination path. I'm going to import that. Yeah. So we have the destination resource. And now let's go ahead and do resource resolver dot create. This accepts the destination resource, the name that you want to give it to, the resource you want to create under that destination, and the list of properties. So in this case, it will be destination resource, and let's just call it TDT sample resource, and then let's just give an empty map. So this is the syntax in Groovy to initialize an empty map. Okay. And similarly, if you want to initialize a list, then all you have to do is that. Okay. Now we would do resource resolver dot commit. Okay. copy that, head back, and execute. Okay, unable to commit changes to session. Let's see what's wrong. It says access denied. Okay, so this get service resource resolver got us the permission that the system user TDT Groovy has. Okay, so let's go back and look at the permission this has. This is a system user, but it's not admin, which means it doesn't have proper rights to write data into the JCR repository. Okay, so let's just add this user to the administrator groups. Okay, click that and find administrators, add that user. Okay, now let's head back and execute. That must have executed that. There you go. So that's the resource that we created from our code. But if you notice, it assumes that the default type is Sling ordered folder, which is not what we want. We want an empty unstructured node. Okay, so let me just delete it and head back to IntelliJ, and let me say JCR. In the properties map, let me pass JCR primary type, and let's say it is empty unstructured. Okay, copy that, head back, now execute this. That should create an empty unstructured node. Okay, wow, it works. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to create maybe 100 nodes under that sample data destination folder. Okay, so to do that, let me create a new variable. Let me call it count, and let's say 100. Okay, just move it up, and I'm gonna create a for int I equals 0 and I is less than count I plus plus. Okay, and I'm gonna move this under that and that under that. I'm gonna commit everything after my for loop. I don't want to commit every time I create a node. Okay, so I'm just gonna pass a name. I'm gonna use what is called as the G strings in Groovy, which accepts a string. You can basically concatenate a variable and a string together. Okay, so I'm gonna get I, and I'm gonna add TDT sample. Okay, now copy that, head back to the console, paste and run. Okay, so refresh that and you can see all the nodes got created. Alright, that's it for this episode. I'll see you in the next episode where we will continue to write our Groovy script. Goodbye.